Welcome. This is another in a series of interviews with Libertarian candidates running in Wake County. I'm Brian Irving, Press Secretary for the Wake Libertarian Party. Tonight's guest is Bruce Basson, running for North Carolina House of Representatives in District 36. Bruce is a biostatistician who works for a major pharmaceutical development service company in Durham. He grew up in upstate New York on a hobby farm where he learned to love camping and canoeing. He later moved to Indiana. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree at Purdue University and a master's degree in statistics from the University of Wisconsin. Bruce moved to North Carolina in 2012 with his wife and 3 kids. Bruce, welcome and thanks for doing this interview. Let's start by talking about the 3 issues that you've listed on your website: greater education opportunities, alcohol and beverage choice, and housing affordability. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, Brian, thank you for doing this interview. I think I'm going to start with the Alcoholic Beverage Commission topic. And it's because it's fairly simple. I think that the ABC is a relic from an earlier time. In fact, it's a relic from Prohibition. And it really doesn't do anything productive. It just creates a lot of bureaucracy, which some people use to their advantage. But the ABC is pretty much of an outdated system, and it should just be repealed. It should just be removed. Government is, as we've often said, exists to protect, individual rights, and it is not something where it should be used as a way to make money for a certain select group of supporters. So I would get rid of the ABC system completely.
Okay, no worries, privatize it.
That's another way to put it, yes.
All right, what's the next topic? How about education?
Right, well, education, freedom of education is extremely important to everybody in the Libertarian movement. A lot of us, even though a lot of us did get our education in public schools, there is a lot of evidence that the system of public education as it is currently set up is very expensive for what it delivers. And when that happens, one of the best things that you can do is infuse more competition into the system. So what we've advocated is not forcing kids to go to schools based on property lines or property boundaries, but instead letting parents make choices about where they want to send their kids according to the kind of school that they think will be best for that individual. What that would require is that the money that is currently being spent on education, instead of going to a local public school, would go with the child, would follow the child to a better location, to that location where they've decided that they want to send their kid. And basically that just means that the education dollars are going to follow the child, and the parents are going to be paying for the education that they want with their contributions. So we really advocate getting rid of the restrictions on using any kind of education funding for the private or parochial or even homeschooling, because we want the parents to be in control of the education of their children.
Okay, and the last issue listed is housing affordability. What do you mean by that? What's your position on that?
Well, housing affordability means several things. One of the key issues is being able to create more housing, which is maybe not all of a single cookie cutter type, that is single family homes. So what we advocate is zoning reform, which will allow individuals to build accessory dwelling units, or sometimes called granny flats, to remodel what they call carriage houses and allow more multifamily homes and small homes around our communities. That will basically make it housing more affordable for people who are just starting out, for people who are maybe currently renting, and just expand the market. We also need to make it easier for commercial property to be rezoned as residential, and that would basically result in less waste of properties that are currently sitting idle and not doing anything, and which would be better served to be some sort of residential option. So we advocate less strict zoning and more opportunities which will allow us to have more affordable housing.
Okay. Now, obviously, you've put a lot of thought and work into these issues, and probably fair to say that you believe that they resonate with potential constituents in your district. But what other issues do you think are important that aren't in your top three?
Well, I think one of the key issues that we see today is the relationship between individuals and the government. I mean, we see this every day playing out on whether it's our televisions or on the internet. There's this central issue that of government and what it exists for. Well, it exists to protect our rights, quite simply, and that's a wonderful thing. But we're in charge of that. It means that we deserve the respect of our government. Right. So when we speak to a government official, whether that's a school official or a police officer, or someone at the DMV, or even the president, we have to understand that that person is serving at our pleasure, and that person owes us respect. And so, when we see a police officer kneeling on someone's neck, that tells us that there's something badly wrong with the way people are interpreting the role of government and our relationship to government. So I think that's a key issue that we have to address going forward.
Okay. Is there any specific thing that you'd like to say at the end of your 2 or 4 or 8 or 12 years in office that you've accomplished? Any piece of legislation that you would like to see passed, or any rules or laws that you'd like to see repealed?
Well, I think that we need a shakeup in our political system. The two sort of old political parties that are currently sort of trading power back and forth have become a little bit too comfortable, and they see themselves as doing things that benefit their constituents, their side. I want to see a revolution in the way that we think about government. Again, we, the people, are in charge, and I want to see that viewpoint much more widely understood, and I will speak for that. When it comes to specifics, I do want to see, as I mentioned, ABC repealed, zoning laws reformed, and also the education funding. I think another thing that is sometimes, we've certainly had problems with here in North Carolina has been pollution. To be quite frank, we had an issue with the Dan River, we have issues with hog farms, we have issues with Gen X in rivers. And pollution is definitely not something that's okay in a libertarian framework. It's really an infringement on other people's rights, and so that's something that I would definitely also work towards, is more the ability to restrain pollution, which is something that really just doesn't benefit the society at large. Okay.
What in your background or your life experience or your education qualifies you to be a state senator? What special qualities do you think that you bring to the General Assembly that another candidate may not bring?
Well, as you mentioned in your bio, I am a statistician. I'm a scientist. I've always been a scientist, a researcher. And I was interested to see an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he went down the list of elected officials, and he was reeling off professions like lawyer, businessman, lawyer. And his question was, where are the scientists? Where are the engineers? And where's the rest of life, right? I think that we need a diversity of opinions and a diversity of backgrounds in the legislature. And I'm not sure how many statisticians we have currently serving, but I bet it's not that many. And one of the strengths that you get, or that you have when you have a mathematical background, is logic. We're very logical people. And I would hope that I could bring that to the legislature in that unique perspective. Also, when it comes to data analysis, understanding large amounts of data and making trade-offs and decisions in the face of uncertainty, that's also a specialty that I've trained throughout my career. So I think that would be something that could be of benefit in public service.
And there aren't many economists in the General Assembly either. That's another one of our candidates in Wake County. So interesting. What in your well, is there any particular person or experience in your life that has guided you or formed you or made you change directions?
Well, one of the things that I did when I was 29 was I quit my job. I had a good paying job. I decided that I wanted to experience more of life, and I grabbed a backpack and I traveled around the world from country to country for about 3 years in total. And I learned a lot, both about myself and about other people. I didn't have a whole lot of money, and so I was very much living, in the way the local people lived in many different places. And I have spent a lot of time overseas in the course of my life. And one of the things that I've learned has been that the United States is an amazing country in comparison. We're still seen as an example to follow around the world. And yet there are things that we can learn. And the good thing is that Americans are very good at learning. We're very good at changing. I think we're maybe champions in our ability to adapt and change to new situations. It's one of our really great strengths. And I've been very influenced over the course of my life by scientists and scientific writings, Carl Sagan, Lewis Thomas, but also you mentioned economists, Milton Friedman. I'm very influenced by his works. I remember when he had his series on television called Free to Choose, and that was a very influential series for me.
Good, thank you. I'll ask you a question that most interviewers or ask anybody who's running as a so-called third-party candidate. That you're a libertarian, and if you're elected, you'll be likely only be the only libertarian in the General Assembly, or in state government for that matter. So let me ask you, what's the difference? What the difference between a Democrat and Republican and Libertarian, and what alternative perspective will you bring to the General Assembly?
Right. Well, first of all, we all want the same things, I think. We all want to help each other. We all want to see our rights protected. We all want freedom. We want free speech, freedom of association, freedom to practice our religion of choice. We want equal protection before the law. Almost everything that we want is there in our Constitution, and we all agree on that, most of us. I think that the difference with the Democrats and Republicans compared to Libertarians is that the other parties seem to think about in terms of being in charge, in terms of controlling other people's lives. If they seem to think that if they could just get everybody to live the right way, whatever way that is, then things would be fine. But libertarians don't think in terms of control. We think in terms of freedom. Government does exist to protect the rights of people and the rights of people to live as they please. One of my favorite quotes from Abraham Lincoln is that government should do only those things that we can't do individually for ourselves. So things like justice and administering public lands, national defense, helping those who have nowhere else to turn. These are things that we have to accomplish in some way with the government. We don't want to be hurting each other. We don't want to be infringing on each other. But that also means we don't want to be putting barriers in the way of people helping each other. We don't want to make it illegal to heal the sick or house the poor. We don't want to make it illegal to feed the hungry. We don't want to make it harder to educate one another, right? And so these are the principles that we need to get back to, and that's exactly where the Libertarian Party will take us if people agree to it.
Okay, that's good explanation of libertarianism. I would say that at the beginning when you said we, you were talking about we, libertarians, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, not just libertarians.
We, everybody, yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's basically covers the basic questions that I had. I'll give you an opportunity to maybe talk about something that we haven't covered that of interest to you, and also don't forget to mention your website where people can go to find out more information about you and possibly donate or volunteer for your campaign.
Okay. So my website is, I'm gonna have to look it up actually.
Okay.
Basson for NC at is it wakelp.org?
Wakelp.org. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Great. Yeah. I mean, this is since coming to North Carolina in 2012, I've been so pleased with the state, with the people that we've met here. We've put down roots very quickly, and the part of those roots is definitely the Libertarian Party, which I found out about almost at the same time that we moved here. It's a great state, and certainly it would be a great privilege to represent the people of the state, people of Wake County, and of District 36 in the legislature, and I look forward to the opportunity to do that. So thanks for setting up this interview, and I look forward to future conversations.
Yeah, I hope that we'll have the opportunity to talk again. We have a few other candidates that we have to get in the queue to interview, but definitely want to talk more about your particular issues, particularly your work as a biostatistician. So we've been speaking tonight with Ruth Basson, who is running for North Carolina House Representatives in District 36. You can check the notes at the end of this video to find out exactly what website the website address and how to find out more information about Bruce's campaign and about the Libertarian Party in general. Thank you, and I appreciate you watching, and see you next time.
Thank you.